Okay, so now let us move on to next chapter, which is something called as capital budgeting, or this can be also termed as investment decisions. So capital budgeting, or we can also call this as something investment decisions. Either you term that as a capital budgeting or you term that as your investment decisions. Okay, so let us see. Okay, now in this, basically there are three things which we need to assess. One, there is something called as estimation. We need to do something called as estimate, and we need to do something called as evaluation. And finally, the third one, in the case of your investment decisions, is something determination. So these are the three important factors which we need to consider in your investment decisions or in your capital budgeting decisions. So capital budgeting decisions or investment decisions, either you need to do some sort of estimation, you need to do some sort of evaluation, you need to do some sort of determination. What I need to estimate, what I need to evaluate, what I need to determine. That's what is your next thing. So now let us try to see what. Okay, so basically I need to estimate something called as cash flows. I need to do something called as evaluation. What I need to evaluate? What is my return on investment which I will be getting? What is the in how many period, how many years my investment will be recovered? So something called as recovery of investment. So return on investment is something, recovery of investment is something that I need to evaluate. Not only that, selection of project. If you are having two proposals, proposal A, proposal B, which proposal you need to select? That's what is the things which you are going to do as a part of your evaluation. What you need to determine? You need to determine something called as cost of capital. You need to determine something called as cost of capital. You need to determine something called as what discount factor. You need to consider something called as what discount factor, or I can call it as discount rate. Both remain the same, discount factor or discount rate. So these are the things which we need to do. Why is this that much important? See, why your capital budgeting or investment decisions is that much important, let us try to assess that. Why that is important? Say suppose you are doing a project. You want to start a new business. You want to start a new project. For the project, there will be some sort of investment which you need to do. You need to invest. Say suppose the investment cost is 100 crores. So let us consider the project which you want to do. For that you require some sort of investment. The investment which you are going to put is nearly 100 crores. So 100 crores is the value which you need to do. Once you invest the money, two chances are there. So once the money is invested, there are two sort of chances. Chance number one, your business is successful, your business is failure. If the business is successful, you are happy. But if the business is a failure, you can't recover the money. So whatever money which is invested, this 100 crores you had pumped into your business. You had started a business. Your business turned out to be a disaster. You have not done any sort of estimation. You have not done any sort of evaluation. You have not done any sort of determination. Blindly you are having a money, invested that money, started a business. Then ultimately, if the business turned out into a failure, whatever money you put cannot be recovered. Part of that money can be recovered. Say this 100 crores is used to purchase some sort of fixed asset. You had to purchase some sort of fixed assets. So what you can do? Sell the fixed asset, recover some money. But entire money of 100 crores is not recoverable. Only a part of that money will be recovered. Remaining part of the money is going to be a disaster. So that's the reason. before investing, we need to do lot of analysis. Once that analysis is done, then only we have to pump in the money, then only you have to start the proposal, then only you have to start the business, then only you have to carry on or continue the new project or new business. So that's the reason this capital budgeting or investment decision is that much important. Now, there is basically two parts, two things which you need to consider. Let us see what is this. This chapter, capital budgeting, is basically divided into two things. Capital budgeting is basically divided into two parts. Now let us see what are those two parts or two parameters which we need to consider here. Now, the first one is something called as cash flows. That's what is something called as our evaluation. In the evaluation, what we are doing, we are trying to evaluate something called as our cash flows. The second part in the capital budgeting is something which is nothing but your selection, which is nothing but your evaluation. So two things we are primarily focusing on. One is nothing but estimation of cash flows. Second one is nothing but your evaluation, which is nothing but the selection of the proposal. So in the second part of the chapter, which is something called as the selection, there what we'll be doing in this area, our focus will be on something called as our capital budgeting techniques. So what we'll be doing, we'll be primarily focusing on something called as our capital budgeting techniques. There we'll discuss in much more detail what are the techniques we have, how to apply those techniques, all those sort of stuff we'll try to understand in the selection criteria. Now let us come to the cash flows part. Cash flow. First of all, initially, what is the meaning of cash flow? For this purpose, we can divide the cash flows into two. Okay, cash flows can be broadly categorized into something called as your initial. Okay, initial cash flow is one thing. The second one is something called as interim cash flow. Initial cash flow, and there is something called as interim cash flow. So these are the two broad categories of cash flows which we have. Cash flows can be broken up into what? Initial cash flow as well as interim cash flow. Now, whatever it is, whether it's initial or interim, now let us try to understand meaning of cash flow. Let us see. What is cash flow? What is cash flow? Cash flow is nothing but the inflow which you are getting. Simply speaking, whatever net profit you get, that net profit is something called as our cash flow. So net profit received net profit in cash. So means what? When you calculate your net profit, how do we calculate your net profit? We'll be taking sales. Okay, we'll be taking something called as sales. Sales will be taken. So this is something called as for sales. From this sales, what we'll do? We will reduce. What will reduce? Something called as for operating. Something called as for operating expenditure. So I am going to reduce something which is nothing but called as my operating expenses. So what I am reducing? Sales. From this we are going to reduce operating expenses incurred. So whatever operating expense you are incurring, whether it is a variable cost, whether it is a fixed cost, whatever it is, that we need to reduce. So once you reduce that, you will be getting something. What is this resultant called as? This resultant is something called as your net profit, that will be termed as something earnings before interest and tax. So this earnings is something called as your earnings before interest and tax. So you are getting something called as earnings before interest and tax you are getting. So there is something called as earnings before interest and tax. Okay, and one word I want to add. and before depreciation and amortization. Earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization. So, as depreciation is allowed as reduction under Income Tax Act under Section 32, from this I need to reduce something called as my depreciation part. Depreciation, and even if you are having some amortization, even that will be reduced. Now, what is this differential called as? This differential is something called as the earnings before interest and tax. So this will be called as the earnings before interest and tax. Now we are getting earnings before interest and tax. From this, what I have to do? From this, I need to remove my interest component. So we are going to reduce your whatever amount of interest you have, that interest portion will be reduced. Now, once I reduce the interest, I will be having something. What is this called as? Earnings before taxes. So this will be called as your earnings before tax. From this, what we are supposed to do? We are supposed to reduce something called as your tax. So I will reduce the element of tax from this. So now we need to reduce the element of tax. So once we reduce the element of tax, the differential is something called as earnings after tax. So what is this called as? This difference is said to be called as earnings after tax. So you are arriving at something called as the earnings after tax. Now, okay, you are getting something called as the earnings after tax. To this, I need to add something. What I need to add? We need to add something which is nothing but your non-operating, non-cash expenditure, which is nothing but something called as what? Depreciation. Say what we are trying to do, we are trying to reduce your we are going to add non-operating, non-cash expenditure, which is nothing but something called as what? Depreciation. That depreciation I need to add to my earnings after tax. So once we add the depreciation to this, we'll be getting something called as cash flows. So this is the basis of determination of your cash flow. So what we are doing, we are taking your sales, from the sales you are reducing your operating expenses, you are calling that as EBITDA, earnings before interest, tax and depreciation. From that you are reducing your depreciation and amortization, that will give you EBIT. From that you are reducing, you are getting something called as EBT. From that you are removing tax, you are getting your earnings after tax. To that you are adding your non-cash and non-operating expenses, you are getting something called as your cash flows. That is the basis of determination of your cash flows. Now let us see. Cash flow. So now we know that how do we calculate your cash flow, that part we know. Now cash flows can be generally categorized into two. As we have seen, my cash flows can be of two categories. Let us see. Okay, cash flows can be broken up into two different segments. One is nothing but initial cash outflow. What is that? Which is nothing but your initial cash outflow. That's what is the first one. Second one is something called as interim cash flow. What is that? Interim cash flow. And of course there will be one more thing that we'll discuss at a later stage called as the terminal cash flow. I will come to that later stage. Initial cash flow, interim cash flow. These are the two things we have. Then in this, again we are having two different scenarios. One, okay, the first scenario may be interim cash flows for a new project. New project, you are supposed to calculate interim cash flow. The second one is something replacement. You want to take some replacement decisions. What is the meaning of replacement decisions? I will discuss that later stage. First, let us discuss an outer view. Same case with your interim cash flow. Interim cash flow also, I may be getting some interim cash flow for what? I need to determine the interim cash flow for something called as your new project and something called as your replacement decisions. So in the case of new project, how do I calculate the interim cash flow? In the case of replacement decisions, how do I calculate the interim cash flow? First, let us see the initial cash outflows. Then we'll speak about it. Initial cash outflow means what? To start a project, I need to incur some sort of expenses. So now, first of all, what I have to do? I need to determine cost of new asset. Find out what is the cost which you are incurring for the new asset. To that, I need to add that. Say I want to buy a machinery. The machinery cost is 10 lakhs. So cost of the new asset will be what? 10 lakhs. To this, I need to add something called as installation expenses. So which is nothing but called as your installation. So to use the asset, I need to install. To install the asset, I am incurring some sort of expense. So cost of the new asset. To that, what I am doing? I am adding the installation expenses. Now, to this, we need to add water. To start a business, initially, I may be incurring some sort of working capital. So whatever working capital which you are incurring before commencement of the project. Say here, what working capital you are considering? Working capital incurred before commencement. Before commencement of the project, whatever working capital you are incurring, that has to be considered. So that's what is something called as for your new project. How you are calculating your initial cash outflow? Cost of the new asset 10 lakhs, for example. Installation expense I am incurring 50,000. I am adding the 50,000. I am incurring zero working capital. So ultimately 10 lakhs plus 50,000. 10 lakh 50,000 is nothing but the initial cash outflow. Now, in the case of replacement decisions, what I will consider? First part will be the same. Cost of new asset. I will be considering cost of new asset. To this, what I will do? Same. There is no change. Add up your installation expenses. Whatever installation expenses you have, that you need to add. Then what? As I am replacing this asset with the old one, say I am having a machinery A, I want to buy a machinery B. Now the question is, I want to dispose of machinery A and I want to buy machinery B. That's what is the second category. What is first category? You don't have any machinery. You are going to buy machinery A. Then ultimately the cost is this. Here I am having machinery A. I want to sell it and I want to buy another machinery. Then what I will do? I will sell. Once I sell, what I will be getting? Net proceeds. So I will be getting something called as net proceeds from what? Net proceeds from sale of old asset. So machinery A you are selling and you are buying machinery B. So whatever amount you are getting by selling of your old asset is something called as the net proceeds from sale of the asset. That's what is the thing which you need to consider. Plus, there may be some increase or there may be decrease in your working capital. So even the same, working capital incurred before only we are considering. So increase or decrease in what? In working capital. When? Before commencement. Before commencement of the project. Say for machinery A, you had invested 1 lakh as the working capital. For machinery B, your working capital is only 60,000. 1 lakh is the working capital for machinery A. 60,000 is the working capital for machinery B. What is the change there? What is the difference there? 40,000. Your working capital has been reduced. So ultimately that is saving in your working capital. So what I will do? As working capital is decreased, I need to reduce this from my actual cost. So once you do this, that will be something called as the initial cash outflow. Interim cash flows already we have discussed, which is nothing but something called as verb. Determine your earnings after tax. To this earnings after tax, you need to add something called as verb depreciation. That will give something called as verb interim cash flows for the new project. Then interim cash flows for taking some sort of replacement actions. How do we calculate? What I need to determine? I need to determine my EBIT, okay, net income. So let me be more specific. Let us call that as your net income, net increase in income. So let us call that as what? Net increase in income. Net increase in income. What is the meaning of this? Machinery A, you are doing a sale. Say machinery A is able to produce 10,000 units. Machinery B is able to produce 15,000 units. That means you are producing 5,000 extra units. This 5,000 extra units is giving you some net increase in your income. Say earlier you are producing 10,000 units. Now you are producing 15,000 units with the new machine. So the replacement actions has resulted in increase in production of 5,000 units. Say suppose 1 unit you are selling at 100. 5,000 into 100, that gives you something called as your net income. So that is the base of determination of your net increase in your income. Now from this what I need to determine? Net increase in expenses. So that new machine maybe the variable cost may be increased or the fixed cost may be increased. So as I am considering the increase in my income, I need to consider the increase in expense also. What this difference gives me? This difference gives you net change in income. So this gives you what? Net change in income. Net change in income before tax. So before taking the impact of taxes, you are trying to arrive at your net change in income before taxes. Now, to this, earlier your income was something, your net EBIT is something, or EBIT is something. On that you are paying some amount of tax. Now your income is something. On that you are paying some amount of tax. So the taxes may be what? Either the tax could increase or the tax could reduce. So I may be having increase or decrease in taxes. So this increase or decrease in taxes has to be added or has to be reduced. So what this difference gives me? This difference is going to give me net changing income after tax. So this gives me what? Net change in income. So net change in income after tax. So after tax we are trying to take the net changing income. That's what is the thing which you are going to add. So what is this called as? Change in income after tax. To this we need to add or we need to reduce what? Add or reduce changes to the depreciation. I need to either add or I need to reduce. Add or less. What? Decrease in depreciation I will add. Increase in depreciation I will reduce. Increase or decrease in depreciation if you do, that will give you something called as your interim cash flow. So this is nothing but your initial cash outflow. This is nothing but your interim cash flow. Then the next one is something called as your terminal cash flow, which is very simple. Terminal cash flow. What is the meaning of terminal? End point. Say every project or every fixed asset or every business or every proposal, whatever it is having a life. Is having a life. The end of life of the business or of the project, end of life of project is something called as terminal. So you are purchasing machinery A. The machinery A life is 10 years. So once the 10 years tenure is done, I will call that as a terminal. So that's what is called as a terminal. So at the end life you will be having some sort of revenue. That revenue which you are getting at the end of the life is something called as good terminal cash flow. What revenue will be getting? Sale of old asset. You are selling your asset. Once the asset is disposed, the residual value, the scrap value, is the revenue which you are getting. That's what is one revenue which you get. Of course, to this, I need to consider what? Impact of taxes on capital gains. Tax effect on the capital gains also I have to consider. So once I consider that, that should be considered as my terminal revenue. Not only this, if you had introduced any working capital, what I will do? At the end of the life of the asset, I will recover my working capital. So whatever money which I am putting as a part of my working capital, either at the beginning or at any year, once the work is done, I will take that back. So recovery of working capital is also something called as the terminal cash flow. So disposable value of the asset, considering the impact on capital gains, and whatever amount of working capital recovered, these two things will be said to be called as the terminal cash flow. So that's what is your first step. See, if you go back there, what we have discussed, the two sections are there, primary two sections are there in the chapter. So what are the two primary sections? One is nothing but determination of your cash flows, that what we have covered. Then there is something called as selection. In the selection, we need to discuss something called as capital budgeting techniques. So now we need to focus on something called as capital budgeting techniques. Now, what we'll do, we'll have a brief outer view understanding of the capital budgeting techniques. In depth, one by one technique we'll try to get into in the next subsequent video. Now, first, let us try to understand something called as capital budgeting techniques. Okay, initially, as a broader view, I can break the capital budgeting techniques into two sections. One, not based on time value. Second one is something based on time value. Okay, capital budgeting techniques which are not based upon the time value, and capital budgeting techniques which are based upon the time value. So these are the two different things. What is the meaning of time value? The rupee value today is different. The rupee value tomorrow is different. So that's what is something called as time value of money. So the value of money changes along with the time. Now, whenever you are calling capital budgeting techniques not based upon time value, we are having two techniques here. Two techniques plays a very vital role. What are those two? One is something called as pay back period. The first technique which is not based upon time value is something called as the payback period. And the second one is something called as, you can either call this as accounting rate of return, or you can call that as average rate of return. Any name you can call. The techniques which are not based on time value, payback period, accounting rate of return, or average rate of return. Now the next one is what? The techniques based on time value. Of this, the first one is something called as discounted payback period. Discounted payback period. So what? Discounted payback, which is an advancement of your payback period. This we'll discuss in next session. Now, the third one, the second one in this category is nothing but something called as net present value. Okay, the second one is going to be called as net present value. In short, this will be called as NP. There is other one, third technique, which is something called as profitability index. Profitability index. This is also called as PI factor. That's what is something called as the third technique. Then the last very important technique is something called as the IRR. What is the meaning of IRR? Something called as the internal rate of return. The importance of IRR has much increased with index, because wherever you look into the index, there the focus is much more on the IRR. So the focus is on IRR. Of course, if you look into index, the same IRR will be called as per effective rate of interest or something called as per effective interest rate. The same thing is nothing but the IRR. So whatever index look into, say you look into index 32 or you look into index 109. So there, all those cases, the IRR is playing a very vital role. So the impact of index has increased the importance of your IRR. So generally, when we take the capital budgeting decisions, the most important techniques is one thing, which is nothing but your payback period. And the very most important is something called as your NPV, and the other most important is something called as your internal rate of return. So these are the three much more important techniques in your capital budgeting techniques. What are the techniques you are having? Payback period, ARR, and discounted payback period, and something called as your net present value, and something called as your profitability index, and something called as your internal rate of return. So just take the notes up to here. So in the next video, what we'll do, we'll try to discuss the payback period. What is the payback period? Two different scenarios: when the cash flows are regular, when the cash flows are irregular. How do we do the calculation? How do we apply the technique? What are the conditions which we need to consider? So immediately once we finish off the payback period, directly I will go to the discounted payback period, because both are same. The only thing is what? This is based upon, not based upon time value. This is based upon the time value. That's what. Remaining rest of things remains the same. So just take the notes up to here. So in the next video, we'll try to get into the elaborated discussion of the payback period, ARR, discounted payback period, NPV, as well as IRR. Then we'll start working with the problems. Clear?